Good evening, everyone, and thanks for coming out tonight. My name is David Kerley, and I'm a perennial attendee at South by Southwest for more years than I care to remember. But I've always recognized that it's just a fantastic collection of great music, technologists, great filmmakers, thought leaders. It's such a perfect confluence for the College of Art, Media, and Design. Every year, it's always way too much to do, too many bands to see, too many speakers. And over the years, they've had everything from Michelle Obama to Barack Obama to Bruce Springsteen. And just every year, they have just incredible speakers and just an opportunity to network and to meet other people who are doing incredible things. And I've been, as I say, going for many, many years, and several years ago, we actually started to have students going down to South by Southwest and sort of partaking in that experience. And I can only imagine what it must be like going down there. I would imagine it's kind of a life-changing event for the students who go down there. You don't really know what it's like until you go there, and then when you go there, it's sort of overwhelming. It's like multiple fire hoses happening at once. And you have to be quick on your feet. You've got to sort of make your choices and be willing to do something else, because it's always dynamic and in flux. And so, so for the third year in a row, CAMD has offered the opportunity to students to go down to navigate, to cover, to blog about, network their way through South by Southwest, and to meet with filmmakers and, let's say, thought leaders, entrepreneurs, technologists, see some bands, have some barbecue, and just really sort of immerse yourself in what is a kind of a perfect storm for creators. And so we've been lucky enough to have these folks go down. Actually, we had almost 70, I guess, applications across CAMD for students that wanted to go, and everybody had to really make their case. Why am I going? What am I going to say about Northeastern? Why should you send me? And we had quite a challenge assessing all of those applications to come up with the team of students that went down there. And they had complementary skills, their portfolios were incredible, and they were able to stay there for a long, sort of the whole span of it. And it was hard to make decisions. And we had really kind of an amazing group of students who were able to really have complementary skills and to live in a sort of a real world Austin. I guess they were all in one house. We didn't have any secret cameras sort of viewing you guys, but I can only imagine it must have been, maybe did it yourselves, who knows. But it's an incredible opportunity to get down there and to do that. And I'd also just like to thank Adam, who did an amazing job shepherding the whole thing together, and the Dean's office was great, sort of giving us the support to do that. It's a scramble to get it to work, and miraculously we did it again this year. So what I'd like to do is just invite the students to come on up and to take a seat, and we'll kind of hear what they have to say about the experience and how it was. So I guess just if you want to go from left to right and just introduce yourselves and say sort of what your major is and your background is, and then we'll sort of dig further into it.
Hey everyone, thanks for coming. My name is Joe, and I'm a fifth-year journalism student, and I kind of focused on photography while I was down there.
My name is Bridget. I'm a second-year grad student in the journalism program. I was interested in doing some photography, the journalism track, of course, and really just trying to take in all that South by Southwest had to offer.
I'm Paula. I'm a fourth-year music industry and communications major, and so I did a lot of the music stuff as the token music industry kid.
Cool. I'm Isaac. I'm a fourth-year journalism major. While I was down in South by Southwest, I was focusing mostly on the film track, though I had luckily some opportunities to see the music and the conference side of the festival as well.
Hi, I'm Sarah. I'm a fifth-year communications media screen studies major, and I was also on the film track. Went to a lot of screenings and mostly the panels, and then some VR AR stuff as well, which is cool.
Hi, I'm Becky. I am communications and media production, and I kind of focused on, I went down there with the intention of going to see a lot of films, but then South by Southwest is there's so much going on that we kind of did the full round thing. So focused a lot on music and did a lot of the tech stuff, which was really incredible.
Yeah. I'm Alexa. I'm a 4th year philosophy and then media and screen studies student. And I went down with the same, I guess, intention of Becky, seeing a lot of films, but we ended up just attending everything and then filming it. So that was really exciting, yeah, just producing some content.
That's great. So what I want to do first, actually, is if we can bring the screen down, and these students were charged with kind of capturing as best they could what was happening at South by Southwest and making videos and making different resources that we're going to share. And so before we sort of ask each one of them about their experience, I want to show a video actually that Becky put together, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And so, but this is only one of a whole collection of videos and stills. So can you describe how you did this? Because it's really quite...
how I made it, or how...
Yeah, what your thought process was about doing it.
So basically, me and Lex went down, like we had our cameras in with us 24/7 kind of thing. And when we got back, we shot a lot of the music, and we didn't want to make it completely a music video. And South by Southwest is such a creative event that I had the vision of making it about being creative, but abstract as well, and kind of incorporating all of our videos. Even though we did interviews, I wanted to put that in, but it didn't kind of stand alone. So as you see at the start, it's, I don't know, I guess you guys will watch it.
It's everything.
Calling all creators.
Those with the need
to make something new.
Who are obsessed with progress.
Creativity is everything in today's game.
It's about making a statement.
I think what we're all trying to do is leave a mark so the game will never be the same.
The game will never
be the same.
This is a band from Boston. Me and Lex discovered them by chance, and yeah, they happened to.
My friend's band.
Oh really? What,
who do you know?
Adrian Brody.
Oh cool, yeah. So we work with them now. So we've been filming all their shows.
Oh no way.
Yeah, yeah.
That's awesome. They're
so
great.
yeah, and it's amazing.
Yeah.
It's amazing that we actually discovered them by mistake. And I had one bar left on my camera, and I was going to save it for Grammatic, and these guys opened for Grammatic, who's actually like quite big. I'm sure you guys know who he is. And we were like, whoa, who is this? They have such raw talent. They're incredibly talented. And then afterwards, we found out they were from Boston. Yeah. So me and Lex spent all night, stayed up all night, and actually produced a film, sent it to them, and then from then on we got like all access to like their whole their tour basically.
And you met him by accident?
Yeah, I got their contact details when I was there, and then emailed her the next day with a video. Not this one, but this is like
a smaller one. Yeah.
Their whole stuff going.
Now going back to 40 years of
summertime is smoking
Get you on your mumble, let you overexpose, but it ain't no manipulation, not enough to subdue. Leave them sticking in your pocket, send me golden residue. Meet me dripping from the faucet with your stolen tennis shoes. Then we mosey to the closet and lock it. Now back to you.
Highlight, you have good taste.
So, I'm just curious, I guess, just moving across, what was your biggest takeaway from South by?
Yeah, I guess I'll go first. I guess it really does just take over the entire city. I mean, you're just walking through like block by block, and there's something like in every single building that like companies have taken over, some sort of like, there's just something going on like every single point of the city for the entire week. And it's just kind of crazy to try and take it all in, and kind of never know what you want to see, and there's something there for everyone. There's tech, music, films, and it's just it is just a crazy week.
Is there anything that you will take with you or that you learned from South by in terms of like how you look at your career moving forward? Did it make you think differently about your future?
I think it was a lasting impression just being with a lot of industry professionals and seeing what they're thinking about and going to a lot of the talks and seeing like what technologies they're looking at, and just kind of being exposed to it. It kind of shifts your thinking about moving forward in your career and kind of what the overall big trends are in terms of tech or film or music.
What do you think?
Yeah.
Big takeaway. You have a big takeaway from it?
Kind of what Joe said. There's so much going on, and it's like every inch of Austin, basically, there's something interesting or there's something to find. It was sort of overwhelming at first, trying to plan out what you're going to do exactly. But you kind of have to make some sort of a plan and then just kind of let things happen. Find yourself in interesting talks or cool spaces where there's an artist or a good show. You kind of just have to take advantage and at times play by ear. Yeah, just being around a lot of the big thinkers right now. It was really interesting to hear, for journalism's sake anyway, where they see the industry going. And as a student myself, I'm thinking, okay, well, how can I best adapt to sort of meet where that's going, so that, you know, as I am thinking about my career, I'm making sure that I'm geared up for it.
Was it different than you thought it was going to be?
It was better than I thought it was going to be.
My biggest takeaway was definitely, well, a while back, someone, I don't remember who, someone I co-opted with, I think, told me that music is the largest small business ever, and I've never seen it play out like that as much as I did in Texas. I knew that I would see some people I had talked to beforehand that would be there, but I did not realize how connected everyone was until I was there. I am co-oping in Sweden this fall, and I literally ran into my team from Sweden in Texas, at a panel that I was at. And I did not know they were there, or that they were coming from Sweden, but they were there, and I ran into them and ended up going to a show with them that night for their artist, and it just made me realize how valuable every person is, and how much these massive industries can run on so few people that are putting in so much.
And you met them randomly, just an accident?
Yeah, I was at a panel, and I was staying after to talk to someone, and they were talking to someone else next to me, and they were I heard them mention Universal Sweden, and I was I just pulled them aside after and was did you just say Universal Sweden? And they were yeah. And I was I think I'm working with you in August. And then they were oh my God, we totally know who you are. Let us take a photo with you. Give us your number. We're going to bring you to a show later. And it was hilarious. Yeah.
That's amazing. What do you think?
I would kind of agree, going off of Paula's sentiments about the community that you find when you go down to something like South by Southwest. It was really remarkable to me because I knew going in I was going to try to see as many movies as possible. I was going to really enjoy that as an audience member. But what didn't occur to me so much is just how much of the film industry goes down to Austin to do exactly the same thing, looking for the movie that's going to really blow up, be an awards contender, be something that is worth keeping in mind throughout the year. And I think everyone here probably saw at least one of those, a movie that really is going to make waves when it comes out, or in the case of the opening night film, A Quiet Place, just blew past what people were hoping that was going to do at the box office, and you could kind of see that in a very future-facing way. Seeing that at South by Southwest, you could sort of get a sense of what a film's viability was going to be, and I didn't really realize that that element of the festival world, which is that the industry is there and keeping very close watch over what's happening, and observing and predicting. And in line with everyone being down there, it's an incredibly fertile place to make connections and to really think about, like for me, I'm a journalism major. I'm always interested in meeting people and talking to them, but for, I can't even imagine for someone who's interested in going into filmmaking, some of the experiences that I had while I was down there completely randomly, or just like, you know, you would go and see a movie, like I saw a movie called Hereditary by a director named Ari Aster, and like the next day, I was going to see a matinee of something else, and Ari Aster was standing in line next to me, going to see that movie. And I struck up a conversation with him. And this guy who just delivered this incredible horror movie was just sticking around the festival the same way that we were. And that was the case for so many of these industry professionals and people who are there because they make movies, because they also love them. We had so many sort of celebrity sightings and celebrity encounters over the course of it. We were able to actually interview and put together a video package with Bo Burnham, who's a comedian who's actually from Massachusetts, and his movie 8th Grade that's screened there just got selected as the opening night film for IFF Boston, which is coming up on April 25th. And stuff like that, you could really just sense that it was this this flashpoint, this inflection point for the entire sort of film industry in the incoming year.
You know, it's interesting as you guys talk. There's like two things that I'm thinking about now: is sort of the randomness of it, but also how much people who go there really care a lot about things.
Oh, yeah.
Anybody who's there is really passionate. So you're bouncing around like a ping pong ball among all of these incredibly passionate and influential or just excited, driven people, and so you don't know who you're going to bump into, and then so that's sort of the unexpectedness of it. But the chances are they're going to be doing a deep dive. For whatever reason they're there, they're passionate about it.
Oh yeah.
I mean, that's kind of what I was going to say. Is just like, it was crazy how many people there were just so passionate about what they were doing. I think like compared to other film festivals, when there's like a lot of people that are sort of on the business side of things, and it's like all about like who's going to get a distribution deal and blah blah blah. Like to me, South by felt very much like people were putting out the work they've been working on for years for the first time, and you were part of that audience, like seeing it for the first time. And I think like even like you said, like waiting in lines at random films. I was talking to directors of other films. And like even after they found out I was a student, they were like genuinely interested. Like, oh, what'd you think of my film? Like, what'd you like? Just asking me questions, and it was such an organic and genuine encounter with everyone I talked to. Even if it wasn't like someone in film, if it was like VR or music, like everyone there is just so excited to be there, like passionate about what they're doing.
Is there a big takeaway for you from having gone, either in terms of how you think about things, or your art, or just?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I think just like the advice that I got from a lot of people I talked to was just making sure you surround yourself with the people who do have the same passion as for film as you do. I think it's easy to get lost in like the business side of it, and a lot of my clubs have been sort of more on the business side, so I think like maintaining that creative side is like the biggest takeaway from South by.
I mean, obviously I already spoke about Mosey, so I'll stop speaking about that. But no, I think for me it was just the ability to like dip your toes into so many different fields. I particularly really liked the technology side. It was amazing. We actually did we built a vibrator, which was like actually it was really cool. Like completely, I know, like okay, it's funny, but like that's the there's the stigma behind that, whatever. But to do it from scratch, that's the whole point of why they're doing it, and to actually like engineer something from something from scratch is amazing. So I really enjoyed the tech. We interviewed the innovation tech winners, which was also amazing, called Read to Me, which I never thought I was going to go down there, particularly for the tech, but it was really, really eye-opening, and to see all this new VR stuff and the things that they're doing with technology now. I mean, it was great.
So how does that make you think about your future?
I'm not sure. I think it's just, again, like going off what everyone said, like the way that we use connections to get interviews and to like go deeper into what they were actually doing with the tech, and like again with music and films and everything. I think just actually having the confidence when you're down there to go for it and use the connections in order to get good material and get insight into what everyone else is doing, and I think they help. Everyone's there to kind of help each other rather than just like a selfish route. So I think that's important.
I mean, it seems like the people there at South by just have a very open attitude about things, right? They're not like, when they're back at work, they might have like the sort of the force field up, and you can't even get through to them, but they're kind of there to share and discover and find out and collaborate. So you have them in a perfect state of mind to connect with them.
Yeah, I've never experienced something like it before. Just like the energy and the vibes. It's another level. It really is.
Well, not to sound cheesy or anything, but I'm really lucky that I also got to meet like everyone here. I think it was really nice like working together. I'm especially lucky I met Becky on the flight because we were pretty much on the same page about what we wanted to do, and we like have mostly like similar interests, so it kind of worked. I think it worked in our favor that we're both pretty like chill and like laid back people. We kind of went saying, okay, like we have cameras, we like to film, like let's go out there and see. So we like spent the first 2 days just like walking around with our cameras, like filming what we saw. And then like, not to be repetitive, like Becky said, like we just stumbled upon this thing, like maybe, I think it was the third day, the grammatics thing, and then ended up meeting Mosey. And I think, like everyone said, the randomness of it, and like not knowing what you're getting into, and then just going with it, like being able to say, like we were actually in line trying to get into like Ready Player One VR when we ran into these people who invited us to a show, and that's supposed to be like a huge event. So we were like a little bummed that we didn't get in, and we're like, okay, we'll go to this random, show, and it ended up like kind of guiding us for the rest of the week, changing everything we were doing and like all the work we produced. So I think you just have to have an open mind, and I'm super grateful that, I don't know, there's just opportunities left and right, and you just walk into them and you have to be.
So can you guys describe, like, how did you get your act together? Like, how did you do this? You're being thrown down there with all these expectations and these guidelines, and we said, okay, swim. Like, how did you guys get a handle on that? How did you figure out how to get started and do it?
It was a learning process. We had to learn how express passes work, and then we had to, like, what I usually did was, 48 hours before I would decide what I wanted to do, like, I would fill up my schedule with just, tons of options of what to do, and then you would hit 24 hours before, and the express passes would come out, and you'd find out what you actually can do, because some stuff you couldn't get a pass for, and you would have to decide, whether or not it's worth waiting in line. And especially with music, there's a whole side of South by that's unofficial, so you have to kind of navigate that world too on top of the official events. Or there's the branded things, Twitter will be doing something, or you want to meet up with an alumni or something. So there's so many outside factors, and it was kind of just being able to say, oh, I'll go try and wait in this line. We'll see how it goes. Maybe I'll give it a half hour. If it's not moving, I have this other backup option, or I have this other person I wanted to maybe meet up with, and just kind of learning how to work out your days that way.
So would you guys then sort of go all day long and come back and just talk about things? You just come back and collapse? I mean, what was it?
Or the latter. I don't think we ever, we were always back at different times. So usually the mornings were when we'd have our oh, hey, nice to see you guys again. What are you doing today?
You're alive. You're alive. Yeah, it's one of those things.
Yeah.
I would definitely say that South by Southwest is one of those things where you have to picture battles, because there's so much going on all the time and so many things that are scheduled on top of each other. We actually really lucked out going this year because South by Southwest, the organization holding the festival, they have an app that that's really necessary for survival to download during the festival. And this was the first year, I think, that you were able to purchase or you were able to register for express passes, which give you preferential access to an event, and you were able to actually get that exactly 24 hours before an event was going to start in the app. In past years, you've had to go and queue up at a box office at a physical location at like first thing in the morning to try to get express passes, and so we really took advantage of that. And once we figured out how to really time things and just be reminded to go on to an app at a certain time, which is kind of difficult when you're screening a lot of movies, particularly because you're just staring at something and you kind of lose track of time. It made it a lot easier, I'd say, probably for all of us by the end of the festival to really know what we were going to do going into a given day.
One thing I wish I had done was download the app earlier, like at home, because you can do that in advance and then begin to see what you want to do in advance instead of trying to go there. And so, because they encourage you to do that. And so I think next year I'm going to download the app sooner and do a little bit more advanced work, because it's, you're right, having that app there, and it's okay, here's my plan G. I had A, B, C, D, E, F. I'll do this now. But if it's all there, it's so easy to forget what's happening because there's so much going on. My short-term memory was just like completely fried by the overwhelming amount of stuff to do.
And it is overwhelming. Like, that is a thing. Like, going to South by Southwest, you do have to admit that, like, you're going to initially be swamped with all of this stuff, and your brain is not going to know how to make sense of all of the information you're receiving. But it's something that I feel like I wish the fest ran longer, as long as we were there. But, like, by the very end, like by the last day, you feel like you have it down, and then you realize that you're late for your flight, and that's gone.
But I think the most important thing, which is hard for a lot of people, because you get excited seeing all the crazy events, and there were some things I saw like before we departed that I was like, I have to go for this. But, like, I hate to say it, like, you're not going to go to half of the stuff you want to go to, but that best attitude to have about that is that that's okay. And, like, there's so much stuff I don't even know is out there that I'm going to go to instead, and you cannot be disappointed or discouraged when you don't make something. I think, like, I also read, like, some blogs online before I left, and I think that was the #1 advice everyone said. They were like, just warning, you're not going to do the stuff you think you are, but you're going to do a bunch of other stuff that you don't even know about, and it's going to be incredible, so don't be upset. And I went in with that attitude, and it was spot on. Yeah.
There was a couple of times actually where we were waiting in lines and we were like, why are we going to spend an hour
waiting here in line?
When we might even not even get in. And so we would go and decide, walk and see, okay, that looks really cool, let's go and do that, or like look at the app and see what else was on, because I mean there is a lot of waiting in lines, and there's a lot of, you do get very overwhelmed, but
yeah, we didn't do much of the waiting in line thing. We were just like, nope, too much here to wait in a line.
Yeah.
So I know one of the things we asked you in advance was to sort of look at things you wanted to go and see, and sort of to kind of make your wish list, like what do I want to do? Did any of you actually get to see any of your wish list things, and how did it compare to the reason why you wanted to go do that? Anybody?
You can help. It's cool.
I guess one of the things I said in my proposal was that, I want to find like a subject when I'm there, but you don't know what that is yet, so like I don't know what it's going to be, but I definitely want to find one thing and focus on it, or someone interesting. And I think we did just that. I don't want to be repetitive, but with the Mosey thing, I mean, we've met these people 3 days in, and it just ended up working out for us. They were Boston-based, so it's also like a connection we have now while we're in Boston. We've already went and saw a show.
We filmed them and like a number of occasions.
We did behind-the-scenes stuff. We did a number of things. We went to see them like 4 times there, which might seem like, oh, why are you going to see the same person? But that's so much more substantial to go and like make this connection with this one person and like have all this content for them that they're actually using than, to just bounce around to all this random stuff, which is also helpful. But
then like continuing to like be in Boston now and have work and working for them now, like going to I've filmed their rehearsals, filmed their shows, a number of their shows. They've got shows coming up, and just like get to know them on a personal level where they don't feel awkward or intimidated having a camera in their face. They get to know on a personal level, and then we've got plans to do music videos and stuff coming up. So I mean, it's for me and Lex, like that's something sustainable, which is like what we'd hope for.
And it's nice to see people using your work.
Yeah.
I don't think I went to any of the events that I had pre-planned, but I did get to go to a lot of cool other things, and I got to see the town hall sort of setting with Jake Tapper and Bernie Sanders, which was awesome. Totally felt the burn. But then I also got to go to a lot of smaller talks. So there was this one panel that I went to was Women in Diversity in Journalism, and it's something I'm pretty passionate about, so I felt very fortunate that I just happened upon it, and I got to talk with some of the speakers afterwards, and I did a write-up on the panel, and it actually, I tweeted it out, and Story Bench tweeted it out, and it got noticed by this other conference called War Stories, Peace Stories, and they actually invited me to come to New York. I was there yesterday. They invited me to come down and see their conference, so I got to make even more connections there. People, with like the New York Times and Vox. So you're able to make some of these amazing connections while you're there in ways that you weren't anticipating at all.
Stuff you can't predict.
Yeah.
Right.
That's so true. And on the film side as well, that really happened. Where like the thing about South by Southwest as well is it's an incredibly online event. Like everything's happening in Austin, but everything's simultaneously being broadcast out into the cloud and on Twitter, especially. And so like with Bridget, I was actually able to make a lot of connections with the filmmakers whose films I was seeing and writing about, because they were on there like looking at the reactions and just like waiting to kind of see what people thought of their stuff. And I was able to connect with some people who were really, really established and really high up, but really, really open to conversations and just like interacting with people who were at the festival, which is just not what I was expecting at all. I thought it would be a much more kind of rigid, like you maybe see one person on the red carpet sort of thing.
And you got mentioned.
Sorry?
And you got mentioned.
Yeah, tell them about the poster.
Oh yeah.
Brag.
I tweeted about a Quiet Place, which was the opening night film, and that quote actually ended up on the big poster of A Quiet Place that's down at Boston Common right now. So
did they attribute it to you?
They did.
Sweet.
Yeah. He's famous
so
now.
That was cool. That was interesting.
Right?
I'm curious, how would you rate this experience, the South by South experience, sponsored by Northeastern, if you will, and out of your overall experience in Northeastern, how does this sort of time at a South by Southwest rate?
Definitely number one.
I'd say it's number one.
12 out of 10.
Number one thing. 100%.
Yeah. It's
hands down.
Sorry, sure.
I don't know that I would have been able to ever really go if it weren't for Northeastern, so eternally grateful.
Yeah, and not only that, like,
definitely couldn't go.
Yeah, not only that, like the access that we had when we were down there was just like unbelievable. You can get, I don't know if you guys know how it works, but there's like three or four
different
we got like the platinum, which is like the fully access one, and it allowed us to, literally do any event and get into any kind of like skip queues. I don't know, it was amazing, and I think that was a massive bonus for us, like huge. Yeah.
Most of us couldn't do that on
You guys all had a concentration, like why you were going there. What was the biggest thing outside of your concentration that you thought was great?
I ended up seeing a lot of films. I went for music, and the music stuff doesn't start until a few days in, so I spent my first 2 or 3 days there just watching films, which I have just like my own side personal interest in. And so that was awesome. And I was with Isaac, who obviously was there like for covering films predominantly, and so I got to go to a bunch of stuff with him that he was doing, which is why I also got to hang out with Bo Burnham. Good guy. Good dude.
He's a nice guy. He's actually very nice.
Yeah, honestly, spent way too much time with him.
Yeah.
But
and Armie Hammer. We tried to talk to Armie Hammer.
He addressed
but
us.
He noticed us when he was taking the other person away.
He was making us stop talking to his director, but that's good enough. Yeah, that was really awesome though, because that's definitely like a passion I have that's not a part of my career, and I got to like engage with it while I was there and had the time. So yeah, that was cool.
So in a few years, you'll let us know the sort of long-term impact of going to South by. I'm curious to see where these relationships lead to, where these new discoveries bring you, new doors that were open. It's very interesting to hear your stories, and I think it's going to be very interesting to see a few years from now.
Any questions from anybody here?
I'm going to be totally shameless here. What do you think set you apart? Why do you think you got to go?
I think that Northeastern this year, at least based on how we've understood it, was looking for a pretty wide range of people with skill sets that really kind of across a lot of different majors, and specifically within those majors was looking for people who have demonstrated that they are really sort of self-starting and have gone out and sort of done a lot of things while at Northeastern, both in terms of extracurriculars and co-ops, and just trying to like really push every opportunity that they can within their individual majors. That's honestly what I would say.
It sounds like a cop-out answer, but it's honestly
Yeah,
true.
I think you have to go with some experience. I mean,
Yeah. If you look at what we all did, we each did like a little bit of everything, but there definitely was like areas that we specialized in. Like certain people really went into writing or photography or video production or social media. So we kind of played to our strengths, which were diverse.
Also, not for nothing, you're coming to this event, which is expressing interest pretty much as early as you can. So that's probably.
We're definitely the youngest people there.
Yeah.
I mean.
Were there a lot of other students there in general?
No,
not really.
There was one other Northeastern kid who was not with us.
Yeah, actually,
Yeah, was my friend. She was on the slideshow. But she didn't
there
have
was
a pass.
another.
She went
There was
to
another
official
person
stuff.
as well who was a guy from Northeastern.
Oh,
Yeah.
nice.
Did you run into a lot of alumni, other than Northeastern connections?
Ones that we knew. I mean, I ran into people I knew and talked to ahead of time, like my old co-op boss or my old president of my, or chair from my club.
And we actually had an alumni breakfast at one point where we actually had like met up with a few different people who were living in Austin. I think the thing that surprised me that I hadn't really considered is that South by Southwest fell over spring break for a lot of schools. So a lot of the people who we ran into down there were actually just there for spring break, like less specifically to cover South by Southwest in any sort of way, but just to either be in Austin or to attend part of it.
They go to the free events or shit.
Yeah, go to the free stuff.
Quite interesting as well how the so me and Lex were there and Isaac as well for the whole like 2 weeks basically, and you could see the week change, like the crowd. So the first week was like very tech and films, and then the
way more mild.
Yeah, and then the films ran into the second week, which was the music, and then the crowd became a lot younger, and there was this as Paula said, there's a lot of like concerts and events which aren't associated with South by Southwest. So a lot of people come all over to go to these events. So there's hundreds of thousands.
All the nearby lounges have someone performing at all times.
Yeah.
Every single one.
There was like a community of film nerds that got suddenly overrun by like a rave scene. That was
You literally you couldn't move, and there's this main street in Austin. I don't know if anyone's been like 6th Street, and when the music, it was probably like the Saturday, the Friday. You literally like could not move. It was like you had to just
peak times, like maybe 20 minutes to get a block on that street.
Because all the lounges, bars, door to door, had like 3 people each performing inside. It was like madness.
It's cool. It's like a massive like streetwide mosh pit with no direct artist performing, but just like the
a lot of
mosh
street
pit outside the other
performances.
There were in individual houses.
Sidewalks.
It's like 10,000 radios at once on different channels walking down.
Yeah, it's
magic.
You're like in news, and then there's a DJ, and then I'm hearing like 6 things at once.
There's something for everyone, no matter what, for sure.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
Recommended.
So will you go back?
Yeah.
Go on my own.
When you want to go back, there's no doubt about it, right?
Job
When
in the
you're your
future
boss
sends
and your
me.
employer sends you, right?
In a heartbeat would go back if I could.
Yeah. If I had the budget, I would definitely.
Yeah.
It's one of those things as well where, at least for me, like thinking about the film track, I would love to, like, I kind of had this vision of like, maybe one day I'll be able to come back here professionally with a job, because that's something that so many people spoke to, who I talked to while I was there, like Jim Cummings, whose film Thunder Road won the Best Narrative Feature. I was talking to him because I ran into him, and he basically just said, like, 2 years ago, I was sitting in the back of this theater watching someone else win this award, and I was like, wow, that might be me one day. And then 2 years later, he did it. And he was an Emerson grad. He just like made like a few short films and then kind of jumped to making narrative and got into the festival circuit.
So it helps you see a path for your future?
I'd say so.
By having gone there.
Like actual Northeastern alumni who are now going with their jobs professionally.
Any other questions or observations? Really, was thrilled with the way you guys took to it, and we sort of expected a lot from you in terms of production and social media and photos and stories, and you guys really did an amazing job. And so we're very, we think you really did Northeastern and yourselves proud, and it's sort of, in some level it has to take a little bit of nerve to kind of walk up to somebody and sort of get out there and put yourself out there and do that. So I'm sure it was like a good sort of, I can do this growth experience as well, to kind of get there and say, wow, here's this big filmmaker and he's just hanging out, so I may as well just hang out and chat. And so that's really, it's just, you know, it's a really positive thing to understand to be true. You can just sort of do that, and to see yourself, to see a path for yourself moving forward is really, that's a great takeaway. Any other questions or comments? Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.